You've probably wondered this at some point. What's the difference between British and American English? And more importantly, which one should you learn? Because you hear different things. One person says water or water, another says water. One person says flat, another says apartment, and you start thinking, am I learning the wrong English? Let me make this very simple for you. The difference between British and American English is not as big as you think. In fact, it's the same language, obviously. If someone from the UK speaks to someone from the US, they understand each other almost perfectly. So the goal is not to choose a correct version. The goal is to learn English so you can communicate. That's it. Now, having said that, there are a few differences that you should be aware of. Let's talk about them. Let's start with pronunciation. This is usually the first thing that people notice. For example, the word water. In American English, you'll often hear water, water with a D sound. In British English, especially in places like London, you might hear water, water, or water. Sometimes the T is clear, as in water. Sometimes it almost disappears, as in water. Another example, better. In American English, better. In British English, better or better. But here is the important part. You don't need to copy an accent perfectly because your goal is to be clear, not perfect. Now let's talk about vocabulary. This is where the differences are more obvious. In the UK, people say flat. In the US, people say apartment. In the UK, lift. America, elevator. UK, holiday. America, vacation. UK, trainers. America, sneakers. Different words, same meaning. And this is where learners sometimes get confused. They think, I need to learn both versions. But you don't. You just need to be aware of them. That's what I've done. Because if someone says elevator and you learned lift, you still understand what they mean. That's what matters to understand. Now let's talk about spelling. This one is the easiest. British English often uses color, favor, and center. In American English, same words, color, favor, centered, spelled differently. Same words, different spelling. And again, this does not affect communication. Now, here is where things get interesting. At some point in your learning, this question becomes more important. Not at the beginning, but later. Because in the beginning, you just need to build your foundation, vocabulary, listening, speaking, writing. But as you improve, you start noticing patterns. You start thinking, why do I say some words the British way and others the American way? And the answer is very simple. When you're learning online, your English becomes a mix of both. And that's completely normal. That's what happened to me. Most learners don't speak pure British or American English. They speak their own version of English, influenced by what they watched, who they listen to, and where they live. And that's okay. Now, if you're living in a place like the UK, which is where I live, it makes total sense to lean more towards British English. If you're working with American companies, you might naturally pick up American English. But this is something that happens over time. You don't need to force it. It will happen naturally. So if you're asking, which one should you learn? Should I learn? Here is my honest answer. Pick one based on your environment or preferences. But don't stress about it, because the real goal here is communication, not perfection, right? So if people understand you, you're doing it right. And over time, Your English will naturally adapt based on your environment. You'll naturally pick up new words, expressions, your pronunciation will improve, and so on, without you even thinking about it. So don't get stuck trying to choose the perfect or the best version of English. Just focus on using the language as a tool. Focus on your listening, speaking, and connecting with other people. That's what will actually move you forward. And once you reach a higher level, then yes, you can refine it. But until then, in the beginning, don't overcomplicate it. Don't sweat it. English is a language, a tool with different flavors, but the same purpose: communication, connection. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.